sharing our stories connects us. Listen and be connected. Join us for the Conversation meeting weekly at the intersection of community and culture. Hosted by Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter. Hey, everybody, it's Wednesday. It's noon. That can mean one thing and one thing only. This is WMNF 88.5 Tampa, and you're listening to The Conversation. Welcome, everybody. If this is your first time tuning in, we hope that you've been listening to us for a little while now. As my broadcast partner who's seated alongside of me, what's his name again?
Joe King Carter.
There he is, Joe King Carter.
Yeah.
We've been working very diligently to try to earn your trust and to try to keep you hard by your radios and your devices on Wednesdays at noon. Joey, how do you think we're doing?
You asked me this last week, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
You wanted a grade, and I gave us an A, and you thought that was a little high.
I did. I think you were being a little bit too generous, but
yeah,
because you didn't give us a lot of wiggle room to improve.
Oh, I see.
So I would have said B, solid B. Like we're doing good work, right? We're not
trying.
doing excellent work because
we're trying, folks.
Because we're trying to get to excellence.
That's right.
And we don't want to ever underachieve. So we hope you're having a good week out there. Joey, what did you do this past week?
And we're also trying to achieve because we want to create a space for our listeners to come to, for our community to join together and listen and be a part of this. We are only a part of this experience. You out there listening are the other part of the experience. So welcome, folks. Now,
it is a conversation in the truest sense of the word.
That's right.
We usually have guests with us each week, and they're enlightening us with their stories of their lives and, of course, their professional careers and what they've been contributing to society writ large. And now today we're going to do things just a wee bit on the different side as we approach the anniversary, the 249th anniversary of this country's founding. That would be the 4th of July.
Our birthday. It is. This is the way I've always seen the 4th of July. It is our country's birthday, for better or for worse, depending on what we do and how we feel about it. It is, in the technical sense, when the Congress of Colonies signed the Declaration of Independence, letting the king know that we don't want to be a part of your gig anymore, folks.
That's right. Kingdoms and the U.S. of A. in America, kind of like oil and water. Let me go, before we do a deeper dive into the conversation about the 4th of July and all that entails, let me just say right up at the top, if you want to share in a little big prayer circle with us here, I wanted to offer Prayer Warriors Unite. My 94, almost 95-year-old mom had the misfortune this week of taking a spill, and she hit her head pretty hard. And she's been in hospital since Saturday. She's being transferred today to a rehabilitation center. My mom has got more lives than the proverbial 9 lives of a cat. She is one tough cookie, but it leaves you breathless because you wonder, how much longer can she keep getting up off the mat. But that said, anybody that's out there listening that's so inclined, if you've got a higher power that you're connected to and you'd like to do this conversation show host a solid, maybe send one up for Carmen Nunez, who's battling pretty hard right now to get back on her feet.
Well, we wish the best for Mama Carmen. She's produced some wonderful family members, and she's been through this long partnership with her partner, her husband. So, we wish her the best.
Thank you, Joey.
It's tough. It's tough at that age. Life is difficult for all of us. And
95, almost 95. And
wow.
She's about to see the birth of her 12th great-grandchild, which will happen here within the next 2 weeks. My daughter-in-law can't go much further. The apartment's getting overcrowded as it is.
Yeah.
And she's about ready to burst. So, yeah, Mama, take care. And I'll be seeing you.
Love to you, Mama.
Right after the show. So, thank you, everybody, for indulging me on that. Joey, what are we going to be kind of talking about today?
Well, you and I discussed the idea that instead of having a guest, that we would sort of turn the audience into the guest, and we would have a little more interactive show today. And so we do not have a guest, not because we couldn't have a guest. We intentionally decided not to do so. because we wanted to talk about this big subject of the U.S. of A's birthday and what it means to people today, what it means to our listeners, and really kind of a broad spectrum. We have no agenda here, folks. The agenda is really just for you to sort of talk about anything in that spectrum that you would like to talk about. If you want to share a very specific, important 4th of July that happened to you in 1984, if you want to talk about what's happening in the country and Alligator Alcatraz, we are not. Midpoint did a great job today, as Shelley always does, and so many other of the shows, our forum shows here are doing great jobs. Mario and I are trying to touch the hearts of the community, and in that process, you can always go to your news source and listen to the talking heads analyze the politics of the day. But I think that we really are.
They get paid a lot more than us, Joe. Let's just put that in perspective.
More. And they probably will do a better job than us because we're not those guys. But the point is, we just want to give you a spot today to talk about how you're feeling about the 4th of July.
That's wonderful. And it can be, listen, these are days of doom and gloom and with good reason. But 4th of July is past and years past, and you're listening to someone that graduated high school in 1976, which those of us that were graduates of 1976, remember that was the bicentennial year. So that year, boy, were we waving flags, and did we have a sense of pride in how far we had come. So, it doesn't always have to be something that's an angry or a sad commentary. It could be like, man, you remember that 4th of July that you spent at the beach with your cousins and your family was all together and it was spectacular. You could also talk to us about the 4th of July that you almost blew up the shed in the backyard because you misfired your fireworks. And oh, by the way, Joey, this whole fireworks and the phantom fireworks and this is a phenomenon that is recent in the last 20 years, but I don't remember all of this. I remember M80s. I remember cherry bombs for those that were skilled enough and talented enough. We always had bottle rockets and firecrackers. And then, of course, the proverbial sparklers for the little kids that shouldn't be handling anything more explosive than that. And so now you have, I guess we had Roman candles as well. But now for $1,500, you can have your own fireworks display and be the envy of your neighborhood. Are you good with that, Joey?
In a word, no. I hate to be that guy. Get off the lawn. But
you look like him, by the way. You look like that guy.
Well, maybe I do. I'm not real down with fireworks. If you're a pet owner, fireworks are really a pain in the lower part of your body. And the other thing is, I hate to be so condescending. It just seems like a barbaric activity. I don't understand. I mean, if you're doing it because you enjoy it, or you're a 32-year-old man and you enjoy it, or are you doing it for your children? Well, there's lots of other ways to give your children
to commemorate the
fun
4th
thrill for the 4th of July.
Sure.
So
go watch fireworks at Disney.
I'm not a huge fan of fireworks.
Or at Steinbrenner Stadium. And, we hadn't even touched upon this, but maybe our callers would like to call in and share their thoughts. What show just preceded ours, Joey? What show just preceded ours here on WMNF?
Talking Animals.
With whom?
With Duncan Strauss.
He's still in the office right there. We can still see him through the glass.
I see him.
We should have asked him how he feels about it, because I bet there are some animal lovers out there that are really, this is a night of the year, or I should say the 4th on Friday, as well as New Year's Eve, that doesn't go well for those of us that have animals.
And it's not impacting only your pets. Obviously, it's impacting the ecosystem. Every animal in the ecosystem is being impacted by this warfare of noise and light that they're not really in a survival sense set up to even deal with.
And we collectively as a society, we don't ever want to be in war. We don't ever want to have to hear the air raid warnings going off like we had in the 60s, which was a real thing. For those of you that weren't here then, look that up. But and the duck and cover drills and all that good stuff. But we sure do like to make a lot of noise on the 4th and on New Year's Eve. And, and if actual incoming bombs, actual incoming ordnance is that and more, which I'm sure that it is, because now you have the earth rattling around you as the buildings fall on your head.
Horrific.
That can't be good.
Yeah, it's horrific. Yeah, what people are going through in the world in these kinds of attacks. Well, so anyone out there who loves fireworks, please call in and address that if you wish. We're open to. That's great. We're not going to challenge that. I personally would be perfectly happy if it went away tomorrow.
All right, so we'll right up at the top of the show at 12:15. We're just 10 and a half minutes into the show. Let me go ahead and give the number out. Some of you already know the number because we've got William waiting to talk to us already. We see you there, William. We're going to come to you in just a couple of seconds, but let me give the number out for everybody else that might like to join in on the conversation today. 813-239-9663. I'll give it again. 813-239-9663. You can send us a text. 813-433-0885. Emails are always welcome. And Jessica Green, our engineer producer, she's watching the inbox now. So if you send us an email, she'll be happy to recognize you and read that as well. That's DJ@WMNF.org.
And call in.
Call in.
Yeah,
well, let's
absolutely.
go. Listen, we've already got somebody called in and ready to go. The pump is primed. So let's go ahead and go to William in Tampa and see what William has to say. I have an idea what he might want to say.
Oh, guys, how are you?
Hey, William. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, good afternoon. It's not. It's kind of morning, but it's really afternoon.
Yeah, I am 50-50 with your show every week. I agree. Sometimes when you have guests, they're okay. Sometimes, but and some of them are extremely good. But my point is, seriously, the ecosystem is affected by the fireworks. Seriously, guys, do you remember when you were kids how your eyes lit up when your parents took you to fireworks? All of a sudden, it's not pet safe. It's not pet friendly. Give me a break. It is what it is. Don't go. No big deal.
No, I don't.
Loves it.
Let me push back a little bit on you, William. I'm not thinking that it's the professional shows that we're talking about. We're talking about the Yahoo down the street that goes and spends $1,500 and wants to, put on his own professional when he's not qualified. And, that's right down the street. That's like in front of your house kind of thing. A little bit of a different story.
That I agree.
That's what we're talking about. No.
Yeah, those guys are goofballs anyway. They spend $1,500 to run, but then they can't pay their bills.
Correct. That 100. Let me ring a bell for you there, William. Let me ring a bell for you because we're on the same page there. Yeah, no. Listen, nothing garnered more amazement in a child's eyes. This one in particular, and I'm sure Joey the same way, than being around a 4th of July display. Like the good ones, man, the ones that you remember when you were a kid over by Tampa Stadium, certainly downtown over by the water because it's spectacular. But now it seems like everything else, William, see if you agree with me, like everything else. When we were growing up, children of a certain age, you had 3 channels, man, ABC, NBC, CBS, and you had 2 UHF channels, and programming was incredible, and the TV went off at 11 o'clock, nobody bitched, and you had great programming. Now,
you did.
You've got 4,000
700 stations,
right,
and nobody's happy.
Right.
But the world is they're so protective of everybody. Do you remember the last time your parents tucked you in a seatbelt in 1962? It didn't happen. There were no seatbelts.
The seatbelt was my mother's right arm. Who are you kidding me?
That's right. Do you care that the dogs have a problem because of the fireworks? I got 2 dogs. I love my dogs more than my wife and kids, okay? But it doesn't matter. They'll be fine. It never was a problem 100 years ago, 50 years ago. Everybody pacifies everybody. But I agree with you. The idiots that spend $1,500 at Galaxy Fireworks, yes, that's a danger to anybody, including themselves.
Yeah, no, brother. Listen, I'm praying. Listen, it's just like when the bull gets into the ring with the matador. I'm always on the bull's side, man. I'm hoping that the matador gets it that day. Of course, they pepper that bull. They take the fight out of that bull well before that guy with the tight pants and the codpiece gets in the ring, right? So I'm always on 4th of July. I'm always rooting for the fireworks, man. I'm hoping that there's an ambulance going down my street because this guy just blew off 3 fingers.
Yeah, well, he'll learn. But anyway, the pacification today of everything else.
Mario.
The last thing I want to say, and I'll let the next caller get in.
Yes, sir.
I listen to this station all the time when I'm driving. This is the only station I listen to. Sometimes I get a little ticky because you guys are so demo and so against President Trump that it gets to be a little tiresome. And I like you guys. You guys got have good shows, but enough of the threats and the garbage and how lousy he is. You know what? You don't like it? Just let's go for 4 years. Let's stop all the extra garbage. Your opinion, my opinion. It's not going to make the difference in the White House. It is what it is. Let's just move along. As Rodney King said, can't we all just get along? but stop putting it out there. That's all.
Thank you, William. We'll leave it right there. We appreciate you listening, as
Thank you,
always.
William.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no. He makes a good point. He says, like, stop belly aching. Let's move on. Let's 4 years and then we'll move on. But that's part and parcel why we're belly aching, because there's no guarantee that after 4 years, if this guy's still alive, because his health is not great, that he won't move along. So if we have a guarantee of that, then possibly we wouldn't be in so much turmoil about it. But I don't have any guarantee, and I don't think you do either.
No.
All right. Well, we settled that.
That's it.
Thank you, William. So do you have a fond recollection of a 4th of July that you can remember, Joey?
No.
Really? I tossed you a softball there, Joey.
Yeah.
So now,
Well, you also realize my childhood was not very typical.
No, it wasn't conventional, but did you see fireworks when you
No,
were a little
not
guy?
really.
Okay.
We never went to look at fireworks. I think my mother thought it was dumb, and I inherited that attitude.
We had the proverbial.
It was something where people got their fingers blown off.
Yeah.
It was something where it hit somebody in the eye. It was something that
Shoot your eye out, kid.
Yeah, it was just there was, and I don't remember there being significant public display. You're talking about these huge public displays we have today.
Right.
In my little hometown, there were
in Bradentown.
There were no public displays. The city wasn't going to spend money on fireworks. So the only fireworks I remember was, as William so aptly put it, the goofball down the street. That's what I remember.
But even the goofball down the street back then didn't have the arsenal that he's afforded today.
I'm more than
He
willing.
didn't have it.
I'm more
Didn't
than
exist.
willing to go on record right here and now. It's not a huge thing to commit to being the anti fireworks guy on this show and on this station. I just don't see any. It's just one of those silly cultural constructs that make no sense to me.
Well, we do like to blow stuff up, and that's I've cleaned that
That's
commentary.
pretty barbaric, isn't it?
Yeah, I cleaned
Yeah.
that comment up. We do like to blow stuff
pretty
up. and
primitive, yeah.
See things blow up.
I'll
let's
go
take,
there.
Let's take another caller, and I'll let you be the anti-blow, the
Anti-explosive guy, yeah.
the ordnance guy. Hi, is this Leela and Brandon?
Yes, it is. And I'm getting a delivery from Holy Innocents right now. I feed the homeless out here and in downtown Tampa. But
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, you're welcome. I just want to do a shout out because I'm chairing the 4th of July parade this year in Brandon, and so we got the Rough Riders coming, and we've got a special a parade this year for honoring heroes in our community. I want to do a shout out for Luann Leahy, who has produced 1.25 million peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in our community over the last 20 years.
Wow, that's a lot of PB&J.
That's awesome.
That is, yeah, so that has gone out to our homeless population, our children in the projects, and people in need for the last 20 years. And we're going to be having the 4th of July start at Lumsden and Parsons. We'll have the Rough Riders kick us off with the national anthem. And then we're going to honor Luann Leahy from the Nativity Catholic Church with our Grand Marshal recognition. And she'll be in the parade. And we're hoping the bishop will get over from St. Pete to anoint her. So that
Is it Bishop Parks?
Yeah, so we're trying to get him to come in. He's going to let us know this morning. So that's going to go on Friday morning, and hopefully we'll have no rain, so we're all praying for that. And then the parade is a new route, shaded, and so we are going to be doing that. And then we're going to have the county fairgrounds are going to have a drone show that night at the Dover, county fairgrounds, and that will start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So there's lots of festivities going on for the 4th of July parade this year in Brandon. We're not having the fireworks, but I think we're going to be having a lot of fun, and I just pray that the bishop can come over.
Listen, and you better have room for him because he's about 6'9". I know you know who he is.
I know. He's 6'6". I think he's 6'6", but, we're going to accommodate.
No, his brother's 6'6". He's 6'9". I know. I've stood next to him.
He is 6'9".
Yeah, he's a big fella.
So give a shout out. So I'm hoping he'll say yes. They're supposed to let me know today for sure. And so with that, everybody come out and enjoy the 4th of July parade. We've got lots of shaded route. We redid the route so we're out of the sun, and we'll appreciate seeing everybody from the greater Tampa Bay community.
Thank you.
The great parade.
Thank you for sharing that information with us. I know that was always a challenge for that a spectacular 4th of July parade in Brandon because the route was always in full sun, and sometimes it can be really hot.
Off that Robertson, that street on Robertson.
Correct.
They don't have any trees, and we've got it going down Oakfield and Vandenberg by the old library, and it's wonderful because it's mostly shade. And then we have the judging booth at the music showcase, and we'll have the judges there judging the big floats and having a lot of fun. And we have the grandstand for the elderly and the children, parents with the young children, if they want to just sit in the grandstand and let the kids have an old-fashioned parade. So it's all about having fun and enjoying our country and the fact that we are all alive and okay and safe, and that the 4th of July is a very important time of the year for Americans.
It absolutely is. And if all else fails, you can always bop into Marino's there and get yourself a café con leche and a Cuban sandwich.
Yeah, Marina's might have to have a stand set up because we usually go right by there, you know.
Yeah, of course. That's why I'm saying, because I know the route. I know the route for sure. Listen, do us a favor, Leila, please. Send us Luann's contact information. I think at some point in time we'd love to have her on the show and come in and tell her story, because she's wonderful.
Years, 20
Absolutely.
years of serving and doing the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, the backpacks for the kids that don't have backpacks, the goodie bags for our homeless, the goodie bag for homeless men and women, and the goodie bags for the kids that don't have toothbrushes and toothpaste. You know, all that is so important for our community. So, but anyway, I will send an information sheet for you, and you guys will pray that the bishop will come over.
And that the weather holds out for you. DJ at WMNF.org. Thank you, Leila, for always being there for our community.
Awesome, Leila.
You're very welcome. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And those are the good folks that are doing the yeoman's work, right? That do it in the shadows and sometimes get no recognition
because our government isn't providing effective resources for the homeless in our country.
How about that big beautiful bill?
So there it is. So it's
it's all fun and games until the rabbit has the gun. It's all fun and games until you try to go to the hospital and get something done, and they say, no, I'm sorry, we don't take that card, that Medicaid card, we don't take that here anymore.
Yeah, so seeing community members coming together to help homeless people in our community is always a wonderful thing. And so I don't sound like a sourpuss. I'm completely down with drone displays.
Oh, when she said that, I didn't want to jump in and interrupt
parades.
her.
You know, you want to celebrate the 4th of July. Let's have a nice parade. That's friendly.
Well, and drone technology is become so advanced now that, it's pretty spectacular.
It is kind of
when
amazing.
You see it, you can't imagine that they're drones.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, how are they doing that?
Yeah, it's interesting.
So it's a nice alternative and probably environmentally a little more friendly and just as spectacular.
Yeah.
Just as spectacular. But there's something about that cloud of gunpowder and the colors and the boom boom and the boom boom boom.
Yeah.
Because we got to have the boom boom. And the closer you can stand to the fireworks without blowing up, combusting spontaneously, the better, right?
The first time I went to a fireworks display, a large city display, it was so close that I was like, what is this stuff that's falling on me? And what is that? Wow, this is not a good thing. And
I always worry about it, too.
I'm coughing
I'm glad that it started to rain, because I always worry about fires inadvertently started with fireworks, because that's what happens sometimes. Well, let's take another caller, shall we, Joe?
Let's do it.
And thank you guys for responding to our call today for participation. We certainly do.
A call to calls.
Yeah. And we see you out there. We see you. So let's go now to Bill in St. Petersburg. Bill, you want to talk about fireworks, I take it?
Yes, thank you. I had no intentions of calling you guys. I'm here cutting up an orange. I'm working outside, but I heard fireworks. I said, I'm going to call.
Come on, man.
But, so my number one, I agree with you wholeheartedly about the fireworks. We could do without it like right now.
Correct.
As far as I'm concerned. Now, if the city wants to put on a display with money that we don't have, I live in St. Pete. But, I'm more concerned about the village idiots who are also called adults, who are drinking a few beers at 10 o'clock at night, and they all want to go out in the street and make a lot of noise. I hate that. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, I'm in the garage with my cats, who are terrorized because they don't understand what's going on with the loud noise. I understand the animal shelters are overloaded the day after the 4th of July because of animals who just don't know what's going on with all the loud banging and noise, and they run away. And the other thing is, I used to volunteer for the Suncoast Seabird Sanctuary out on Indian Rocks Beach.
Great place.
And these birds are terrorized, so they don't know where to go. There's all this loud noise and the lights up in the air, and people don't think about that, except for, I'll go back to stage one, the village idiot who are adults who want to make a loud noise after having a few beers and a few drinks in the street. I don't mean to have a run-on sentence here, and I'll stop. But the bottom line is, I thought that the fireworks are illegal, except for a few sparklers. Why are these vendors allowed to set up their tents in the Sam's Club parking lot and everywhere else where they can sell these fireworks? That's just my own big question right now.
Say nothing of Phantom Fireworks, which now you can see their full-on advertisement, 60-second paid-for commercials this time of year. They remind me of Spirit Halloween, man. Every late September, early September, at the nearest CVS that is defunct near you, Spirit Halloween moves in and they sell us all their Halloween stuff. And on November 1st, they're gone, man. It's like they never were there at all. But you're right. I always thought that fireworks like this were illegal. And
I thought so.
But we have to consider the fact, Bill, that we are in Florida, and you know, if you saw the news report yesterday, you had the Secretary of Homeland Security along with Florida's governor yucking it up pretty good at Alligator Auschwitz. I think that's what they're calling it now.
Alcatraz.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misspoke. Alligator Alcatraz. So yeah, and.
I don't mean to interrupt you real quick. I keep on going, but hang on. I want to throw something in. Florida never misses a chance to get on the front page.
No doubt. And it's never good. It's like your crazy uncle, you know, he's out there always, he's embarrassing the family, and you just, after a while, you can't shake your head and look away anymore. You're just embarrassed.
Yeah.
Well, he's like a train wreck. You can't stop looking at it.
Right. You can't look directly at it, but you can't look away either.
Well, the other thing, Bill, real quick to respond to what you were saying, Bill, because it touches me in a way, because I think that number one, we have radically confused patriotism in our country with things that are not necessarily patriotic. I think what a patriot is a person who loves his country, who wants his community and his world to be better, who cares about other people, and who wants to make it better for everyone in this community. And when I say community, I mean the United States. Number one. Number two, real quick, I want to get in that there is also a group of people in the world who either love animals or they don't even care about animals. There isn't a lot of gray area there. It seems to me that if you start to understand that animals feel pain and have some form of sentience and they're aware of themselves in some remote way, if an animal is simply a thing for you to kill and eat and use, then you're on one side of the fence. But these animals, there are a lot of animals that deal with a lot of stuff. And by the way, the guy down the street, as William early called a goofball, who wants to set off fireworks, he can come to my house and clean up the my dog's sickness all over the house because my animals go into this bizarre state of neurotic pain. He can come over and clean up my house, you know. So there's all of that, and I agree with everything that you said.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate your time. I call them village idiots because that's what they are. You know, I hate to laugh, but I can think of my neighbors. You know, if I set off a firecracker outside their bedroom window on the 5th of July in the morning, they would call the cops. But they can light off firecrackers all night long and keep me up.
Right.
So, you know, it's ridiculous. It really is. I'm sorry to say that. And I just don't understand the mentality of a lot of these people. Like you said earlier, perhaps in the earlier of your show, that people will spend a lot of money over at the fireworks place, but they won't give $1 to the homeless on the street or whatever. I mean, that to me, that is unbelievable. And but it's out there, and it's real. And it's a shame that it's happening. And I'm just very grateful that we have stations like 88.5 to get this out to the few people who have the sense to listen to the station.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you so much, Bill. We appreciate it. Now, listen, you get back to that orange, okay? Get on back to that orange. Enjoy it. I hope it's a sweet, juicy one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. That was Bill. We had another caller there dropped off. They had stayed with us for 6 minutes, but I guess we might have said something that triggered them, and they just
Or maybe they
hung
had
up.
to go.
That's true. Because you know what, Joey? When you got to go,
That's it.
you got to go.
That's right.
I'm just saying. Hey, ain't it time for a station ID? I think it might just be.
Hi, I'm Luis Salazar, and you're listening to The Conversation with Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter on WMNF 88.5 FM Tampa.
Luis, we love you.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you. So, there's all kinds of things happening in District 5 after, we lost Gwen Henderson, our District 5 representative,
Yes.
your representative, and now things are, rapidly people are trying to get into the position, jockeying for position, as it were. to get
Yeah,
that
it's a
seat.
kind of a mass free-for-all, yeah.
A little bit. I think we've got
A lot of people running.
special election coming
Or a
up.
lot of people have declared, I should say.
Correct, but they have to qualify as well. They
That's
either have
correct.
to have the signatures or they have to have the money. You can make the application and pay for that, but then there's a couple of other criteria that you need to achieve before you can actually be on the ballot.
Yeah, yeah.
So good luck to everybody in District 5 that's hopeful, and we hope that you're doing it with honorable intentions and that you're going to carry on in the tradition
It
of...
should make for some interesting, I hope, public forums.
I think it will.
Yeah, there'll be some public forums.
I think it absolutely will.
Absolutely.
So let me give you the number again, in case you want to call us, because we're soliciting for your calls today. Today we're talking about the 4th of July, July 4th, and all that entails. Whatever it means to you personally, if you happen to be one of those people that really, really, you fly a flag at your house, you adorn yourself with the red, white, and blue. You feel that way about your country. Your military service, I'm sure, comes into play. We'd like to hear from you, what it means. If you're as frustrated as some of us are in these days with things seemingly unraveling around us, and democracy and liberty under assault, and if you don't think that it is, I think you're really not paying attention. I think you're missing a lot of what's going on. Call us and tell us that. Tell us. We just want to hear from you, Joey.
You could be someone who has a disdain for the 4th of July, and you see yourself as an American patriot, but you still don't like the holiday because it represents a whole lot of things to you. Who knows, but call in.
Along those lines, there was a gentleman who we know for a fact had a certain disdain for the 4th of July. He is a historical figure. Joey, I'm throwing you I'm feeding you a little rope here so
Absolutely.
you can go ahead and tie that knot off nice and neatly. And I don't know how to tie knots because, I was not in the Navy. But, there's I don't know how many variations on sailor's knots and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But give us a little bit of background on what we're about to hear.
Well, we're about to hear a very famous speech by Frederick Douglass, who was born in 1818 as a slave. And it's the same year that Vicente Martinez Ybor was born, by the way. So
Interesting.
It's very interesting, yeah. And so,
But he wasn't born into slavery. Unlike Fred.
V.M. Ybor was born in Valencia, Spain.
There you go.
But nonetheless, they were both the same
age.
Same age, yeah, and came from that same generational period. And Frederick Douglass was there through, became from a slave to a statesman.
And an abolitionist.
And
how do you, so, I mean, this is a question for you, Joey, and then we'll play the clip because I think everybody needs to hear it today, especially as we approach the 4th of July holiday. How do you do that? How do you go through seeing all the atrocities that he must have seen as a child and born into slavery, and see his parents and grandparents and his siblings and all the people around him go through that misery, and yet come out with a perspective that he's able to, lead and
that's
and even
interesting.
govern.
Yeah, it's interesting you should say that because I reflect upon the concept of positivism and how that works in the world. And we are talking about a time right now where a lot of people are feeling negative and pessimistic, and you have microplastics in your blood, and you have alligator Alcatraz, and you have all these things that are floating through the world of fascism and politics and your political party and racism and DEI, and it just goes on and on and on. And what happens is you start doom scrolling your life. It's not just on social media; it's your doom scrolling the news.
Can't get away from it.
It's hard to get away from it. And you are most inspired by those people that remain somehow willing to fight the fight. And that's who Frederick Douglass was. He was a person who, as you said, imagine. It's actually hard to imagine. I don't know that we can.
I don't know how you get there.
You are born a
Different
slave
people.
from people who parents who were brought here forcibly from another country in chains, and you end up participating in the American experience at the level of saying, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to make this difference. And we should all be so inspired, because giving up accomplishes nothing.
And of course, this reading is narrated by the irreplaceable voice of James Earl Jones, who we lost last year. And who else could do this better?
Yeah, it's just a few minutes.
Back in 1852, just 10 years before the horrendous Civil War here in the United States, a former slave, Frederick Douglass, asked the question, what to the slave is the 4th of July? Douglass, who was born into slavery around 1818, was a key leader in the abolitionist movement. And in July of 1852, Frederick Douglass delivered this speech to the Rochester Ladies Anti-Slavery Society in Rochester, New York. The reading is performed by the actor James Earl Jones. Let's listen.
Fellow citizens, pardon me, and allow me to ask, why am I called upon to speak here today? What have I, or those I represent, to do with your national independence? Are the great principles of political freedom and of natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us? And am I therefore called upon to bring our humble offering to the national altar and to confess their benefits and express devout gratitude for the blessings resulting from your independence to us? I am not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessings in which you this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common. The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, not by me. The sunlight that brought life and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I must mourn. To drag a man in fetters into the grand illuminated temple of liberty and call upon him to join you in joyous anthems were inhuman mockery and sacrilegious irony. Do you mean, citizens, to mock me by asking me to speak today? What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days of the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is a constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham. Your boasted liberty, an unholy license. Your national greatness, swelling vanity. Your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your denunciation of tyrants, brass-fronted impudence. Your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings, with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy. A thin veil to cover up crimes that would disgrace a nation of savages. There's not a nation of the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour. At a time like this, scorching irony, not convincing argument, is needed. Oh, had I the ability and could reach the nation's ear, I would today pour forth a stream, a fiery stream of biting ridicule, blasting reproach, withering sarcasm, and stern rebuke. For it is not light that needed, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, the earthquake. The feeling of the nation must be quickened. The conscience of the nation must be roused. The propriety of the nation must be startled. The hypocrisy of the nation must be exposed, and the crimes against God and man must be proclaimed and denounced.
That's pretty good, Joe.
That is it.
That's pretty good, Joe. So, again, James Earl Jones,
Yeah.
an African-American man himself.
Yes.
Who could probably trace his lineage directly through slavery, I'm sure.
Of course.
And he's reading that with all of his ancestry and the weight of that horrific time behind him. So, yeah, it begs the question. At that time when Frederick Douglass wrote this, you can imagine what he must have been thinking, what he must have been going through, trying to keep his emotions in check long enough to even write those words on a piece of paper. And I've got to believe that he was probably crying. He was probably wept as he was writing it, because the atrocities that were committed back in those times was just incredible.
Right.
So we'll go ahead and turn that off now. But Joey, go ahead. You have comments?
Well, no, just, that we are all, this is where did we lose this idea that America works as a melting pot for everyone, that we are all here joined together through the various ways in which we got here, we came here. We are all immigrants. We are immigrants and revolutionaries. That's what we really are.
Unless you're Blackfoot, Comanche, Sioux, unless you have claim to this.
There are those that were here
to
before
North
us.
America,
Yeah,
sure,
absolutely. But and we can go through that. But the point is, we are now here all together, and we are, as I said, we are immigrants and revolutionaries, and that revolutionary part of us is what the 4th of July is about. It is that revolution we went through, and we are here now in a place where I feel we're sort of slowly losing our focus.
Are we on the knife's edge, as they say, Joey? Are we on the knife's edge? Could this go either way?
Well, we certainly have lost some of our compassion and some of our empathy.
Agreed.
And it's not...
Is cruelty the point? Is cruelty the point?
Yeah, this concept of the rugged individualist who makes it on his own and disregards all others is an American ideal that's not very, and the rule of law, dismissing it. This is not the America that I think we all want to be proud of.
Thank you. Well said, Joseph. That's why you're my partner in crime right here on this show.
Also, I'd like to say about Frederick Douglass in that speech is also the concept that I think is often felt that somehow if you are critical of America, that you are not a patriot. That's a lousy idea. You have to be critical of your own activities to grow. You have to be critical of your children, your family, your friends, your business. You have to criticize things in order to make them better. And this is where we are. We have to be critical of what's happening in our country right now.
Yep, I don't disagree, and that's another way of saying I absolutely agree. So let's go ahead now. As we knew, we would probably elicit a few stimulating phone calls after hearing Frederick Douglass's stirring speech. Well, the public did not disappoint. So let's do that without further ado, and let's talk to Art. I believe Art has called us before. Art, you're in Largo, and you'd like to talk to us maybe about the Frederick Douglass speech.
Oh, definitely. And thank you so much for putting it on. I think it should be on every 4th of July. And I don't know if I'm the only one, but when I began to hear the entire speech, I had in mind not slavery, but I had in mind our current position or current status quo in this country. A lot of what he said really can apply to today, to what is happening today.
Yes, Art, it's timeless, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, yes, and I thank you, gentlemen, for making it, for bringing it on to us, and I think I'm going to look over that speech, and I'm going to start quoting some of him when I write to letters to the editor about what's going on here.
There you go. That's it, Art.
We appreciate you, Art. We feel the same way about an Oscar award-winning screenplay by Paddy Chayefsky. Joe and I talk about it quite frequently. It's one of our favorite movies. In 1976, award-winning movie screenplay for the movie Network, if you remember, and that the screenplay there also has an air of timelessness about it, because even this 50 years later almost, you can still hear Peter Finch's character saying, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." Mm-hmm. And that whole dialogue was just incredibly timeless, because it still applies even today. But Art, thank you so much for always being there for us and listening, and we're glad we inspired you to call in today.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Art.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye now. That's Art in Largo, as opposed to Art in Your Ear, which is, I believe, a show here on WM.
That's right. Art in Largo.
Art in Largo. So yeah, Joey, we're coming to that time of year again, and it always ushers in the heat of summer. You know what I mean? It always,
yes.
The 4th of July means, okay, summer's officially here. Mm-hmm. Like they say, Memorial Day is the official start.
When does summer leave Florida?
Never. It's like that bastard child that comes back and he just...
When does summer leave?
He's got stuff on his shoes and it gets all over the carpeting and you just can't get him out of your house.
I need a holiday to celebrate when summer leaves.
Yeah, and how do they celebrate summer in different parts of the... I mean, not summer, but the 4th of July in different parts of the country, because that's interesting, too. If anybody out there knows and they want to share some stories and shed some light on that, because, we are here in Florida. And again, we have to look at it through our lens and only our lens. But, you've got different parts of the country that might celebrate it a little bit differently, whether it's the Pacific Northwest, whether it's the Heartland, and whether it's in Kansas, whether it's New York City, of course, or Philadelphia. It means different things to different people in different parts of the country.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
All right, well, let's take another caller, because this caller here who calls us every now and again never disappoints. And today I think Simon from Lakeland would like to talk to us about the 4th of July. Hello, Simon.
Hi, how you doing, guys?
Good. Thanks for calling.
First of all, on Frederick Douglass, his second wife was white, Helen Pitt, who he married in, I think it was 1894. I'll get to what real quick. You used the word fascism. When Franco had the Civil War from 36 to 39, there were volunteers from the British in the International Brigade who fought for Franco because they were pro-church, left after the war, came back to England, and then fought against Nazi Germany.
So how did they do that, Simon?
Well, that's why when politics flows down from culture, and we're living in a time where people use language really as a attempt to ad hominem attack. What I wanted to also, as time is running out,
sure,
you should play, because to me the 4th of July means freedom. My parents were born in Poland. My brother was born in Russia. My sister was born in Germany. I was born in Israel. My dad lived through fascism, Russian communism. He spent 7 years in labor camps in Russia, and socialism in Israel. The 4th of July is freedom. If you want to hear something that you should listen to, is Alexander Solzhenitsyn's commencement speech to Harvard in June 8th of 1978. Someone who was a dissident in a gulag, in communism, telling Harvard commencement, don't let go what you have. Be very careful.
Yes. That's great advice, Simon, and we'll look into that.
Simon, we're going to get back to you on that, because now you've got, we know about Alexander Solzhenitsyn's,
of course,
profile. So that's not lost on us. And we have and I think, Joey, I speak for you in this case, and if I'm wrong, you tell me. I think we have a new appreciation for Simon in Lakeland now, who has quite a history of his own. Simon, can you hear me?
Yep.
You be careful, because you might just garner an invitation to come in here on the conversation and tell us a little bit more about your story.
Well, that would be very intriguing. I would find that many of your listeners would probably put on a scale of 1 to 10, 11.
There you go. And by 11, you mean good, right? Because 10 is the best.
Okay, you take care. Have a good Fourth.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Simon. You
Simon.
as well. Thank you for always being there for us and for offering such wonderful, insightful commentary, which he does.
And
But how
Simon
who knew?
mentions the fascism of Spain during that time. It's Dr. Sarah McNamara wrote this now incredibly well-received book on the Latinas of the South in 1937.
Right here in Ybor City?
Right here in Ybor City. 5,000 Latinas marched from Ybor City downtown to the city hall in response to fascism. So that's imagine organizing 5,000 people, and in this case, mostly women, who were in that march. It's a fascinating moment in our history.
And I guess we should take Simon's words to heart, too, because what he said there wasn't lost on me was, be careful because, don't lose it. Be careful because if you lose it, you might not get it. We've been hearing this for a minute. We've been hearing this since 2016, since this assault on our democracy has been in full swing.
Freedom means many things to many people in different ways, but freedom ultimately is freedom, and freedom comes at a cost. You have to work to keep freedom going.
And I always wonder, too, Joey, look, I mean, let's just cut to the chase. What if it is freedom, right? The free state of Florida, blah, 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 blah. What is it, really and truthfully? Why should you be worried about what I'm doing, Joey, if I'm not doing anything to bother you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What does my lifestyle, how does that encroach on your happiness quotient?
Correct.
Right? I'm just over here, man. I'm growing a garden. I'm tending to my vegetables. I'm loving my neighbor.
Yes.
And you just have to. Are these people that miserable, Joey? I don't know. I'm asking for. Do I need some couch time?
There
Joe?
are many
What's happening?
factors involved in that confluence of events. Yeah.
Well, why Alligator Alley? I mean, Alligator. What is it again?
The Gator Gulag.
Yeah, what is that all about? Has anybody seen the pictures? I know we're getting close to the end of the show, and here, guys, we got one caller left. But I can tell you that the first strong wind that comes through the Everglades, the first storm is going to blow all of that away, all of it, every bit of it away, because they put that thing up in 15 minutes. It's chain link and tarp, and we know what happened to the top of the of Tropicana Field, right? We know what happened at the top. So I'm just telling you, man, it's all optics. With this administration, it's all optics.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Okay, should we get this last caller real quick?
Yes.
Joey, let's do that. We got about 3 minutes left in show, but we have to do this. Christine, thank you for make it brief. We've just got a couple of minutes, but we absolutely wanted to honor your call. And you want to say something about fascism. Hi, Christine, are you there? Oh, no. Christine, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was my fault. Christine, please.
I can remember back as early as 2000 listening to different political ads and how they said they're for them, not us. And as soon as there's them and us talk, that's fascism in its purest form.
Us against them, right? So the minute
for
you
about 20 years.
There you go. The minute you put that separation in there, the minute you start to drive that wedge, I think that things start to get a little bit sideways. I agree with you. We agree with you. We will not disagree with you today. Christine, we will not. If you were looking for us to argue with you, Christine, you are barking up the wrong tree.
You to argue with me, but I mean, like I said, that started way back in the late 1990s to the early 2000s, and fascism is not new to our country, unfortunately.
Agreed. We're going to get one more
not.
caller. Christine, thank you so much for calling
Absolutely,
in today.
we agree, Christine.
We wish you a happy 4th, and we're going to take one more real quick caller, and this is Jackie in Sarasota. Jackie, we got about 30 seconds for you, hon.
Yeah, I agree with so much of what you guys said today, but a point I wanted to make is Amy Goodman had a guest on who said he wouldn't use the term alligator Alcatraz. Alcatraz was a prison for convicted criminals, not for immigrants who we know a lot of them are innocent.
Here. That's a great point.
Yeah, so he closed it the Everglade Detention Camp. And
That's what it is.
That's calling it what it is.
Yeah.
Jackie, thank you so much from Sarasota. That's Jackie from Sarasota, everybody, who always is listening, and sometimes she calls in.
And by the way, Jackie, the reason I used Gator Gulag is that's and Simon touched on the gulags. The gulags were places where the Russians sent not necessarily criminals, but dissidents and people that they just didn't like. Absolutely. Joey, we're just about out of time. Go ahead and... Yep, do what you got to do, Joey. Do what you got to do. Let me just say real quick, folks, that if this topic has caused me to think a lot about Jacinda Ardern, the person who was the just recently former Prime Minister of New Zealand. You probably are familiar with her. If you're not familiar with her, read that quote. I suggest you get familiar with her because she emphasizes that optimism is about not being naive or ignoring problems, but rather an act of courage and an expectation that things can and should be better. And that's what we need to be looking toward, is to be optimistic. Please remain optimistic, everybody. Stay tuned now. Who's coming up next, Joey? Coming up next is Sam I Am. Sam I Am. Thank you, Jessica Green. Thank you, Cheryl, for answering the phones. And ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to WMNF Tampa.